We're almost done here. The fossil record. All right. What about the fossil record? All right. Everyone uses a fossil record. Oh, yes. Look at these layers. Look at these layers. All right. They show the evolution of life. All right. So this is a Darwinian model. All right. And what the fossil record, so Darwinian says, or Darwinian model says, we start with a cell. But wait a minute. Science just told us that the cell is impossible to appear on its own, right? It can't spontaneously appear, right? Not only that, let's read on. So what about the fossil record? What does science teach us about the fossil record? Because the family line, you go through all these phyla there, and then you make animals continue through the fossil record, quote, evolved, and they became higher and higher and higher, and so on and so forth. All right, so the fossil record. Now, how many of you know how many fossils are out there? There are tons of fossils. In fact, the fossils cover the whole Earth. All right, fossils cover the whole Earth. All right, there is an enormous amount. Now, if the fossil record, so if life evolved from a cell all the way up to us, we should see transitional organisms. What is a transitional organism? A transitional organism is an organism that goes from one thing, so let's say a fish, turns into a reptile. That reptile turns into a warm-blooded mammal. So we should see transitional fossils, right? Now, the fossil record is extensive. Let me tell you, there's extensive. Billions and millions of organisms are in the fossil record. But there's a problem. There is not one transitional organism. Not one. Not one. In fact, if you don't believe me, let's look at one of the top scientists here, Harvard, Ernst Mayr, and he wrote the book, What Evolution Is, 2001, page 14. And he says this: given the fact of evolution, one would expect the fossils to document a gradual, steady change from ancestral forms to the descendants. But this is not what the paleontologist finds. Instead, he or she finds gaps in just about every phyletic series. When you go to a museum, what do you see? Natural History Museum. Dinosaurs, right? They're the hot things, right? When I take my kids to the natural history, ooh, dinosaurs, dinosaurs, cool, dinosaurs. But what do you not see? Transitional organisms. Did you know that transitional organisms would prove evolution? Do you know that? Transitional organisms would prove evolution. But some of the top scientists, they've studied this, and they said, there is no transitional organisms. In fact, they have these half a dozen alleged transitional organisms that they say, but they say no, well, maybe. They say maybe. And they only find a dozen of these that they say is maybe. If evolution is true, we should see millions of these transitional organisms throughout the fossil record. But we don't, right? So, and it's pretty simple. So based on the evolution model, the entire foundation for Darwinian evolution, transitional organisms is missing. They don't exist. So what is the fossil record? What is it then? It is proof of the flood. It is a record of death. Did you know that in every major fossil layer, there's marine animal fossils? They don't tell you that. You see dinosaurs. Right beside them, you see clams. Right beside them, you see fish. How did all these marine animals get in between each of those layers? And each of those layers are supposed to be millions and billions of years old. How did that happen? There's only one way. If water covered this entire earth, then all these dead marine animals, all these dead things would have been buried together. Now, I don't have time to go through that, but anyway, we have some other things. So, therefore, it is logical and reasonable to believe that God, not unknown events, created all life after its kind. And there's a point to all this.